My problem is that this thing is lopsided and it won't zip down all the way. I'm Kathleen Pate and this is my Alabama Farm Life, and today I'm going to do a 1-year review on my Best Choice walk-in greenhouse 15 by 7 by 7. I live in West Central Alabama in Zone 8A. Our winters aren't too harsh, but we do have several weeks where the temperatures do dip down into the freezings, and sometimes it's even been known to get into the teens. Last year we even had snow.
You've never seen snow before, baby.
Oh, the chickens aren't liking it. It's beautiful. I'm not sure I like it. It's about 16 degrees out this morning. Try to get into the greenhouse. I can hear the heater running, but the zipper is iced up. It won't come up, so I'll have to check that later. As I look at my plants, I'm thinking it managed to stay pretty warm in here, above freezing. Nothing looks like it froze. No, everything looks good. This is a redstone heater that I purchased at the beginning of the year, and this is what I use to heat my greenhouse. It actually does a nice job. In my last greenhouse video, I had a lot of people saying that greenhouses were too expensive and they really couldn't afford them. But this is actually not an expensive greenhouse. We bought this last year for about $149, and the current price is $169, so it really is a decent price. The instructions were basically pictures and you just had to figure it out. I put it together mostly by myself. It took me about 3 days, and I did have a little help from my mother-in-law putting on the tarp. You are going to need some type of stake system to keep this greenhouse from blowing away. It blew away on me twice. The first thing I tried were these tent stakes, but they didn't work. However, I did end up using them on the greenhouse plastic to keep it from flying up. I ended up ordering these ground anchor stakes, and these have worked really well. I purchased these screw-in-the-ground anchors off of Amazon, and they go in pretty deep, and so far I've been pretty pleased with them. I used the rope that came with the greenhouse. It's not a great knot, but it's a good enough knot, and it stayed so far. So this one's a little loose, but I think it'll be okay. We have had our share of storms and high winds this year, but somehow this greenhouse has remained standing. I used a roll of 3-foot by 50-foot roll of garden cloth to line the bottom of the greenhouse. It has held up really well and has kept the majority of the weeds out of the greenhouse. Now I want you to get a sense of how roomy this greenhouse is. In the next video, I put in a 5-foot fold-out table. I have shelving, and I put in 8 5-gallon buckets full of tomatoes. Overall, I'm very pleased with this greenhouse. It was inexpensive and it did the job that I needed it to do. But now we need to discuss some of the issues that I've had with it. The problem is that this thing is lopsided and it won't zip down all the way. This is the back of the greenhouse, and if you look at the seams, you can see that they're generally even, not perfect, but close. And then on this front corner, it's fine, but as you go over to the other corner, it's lopsided. So it caused me to have a problem with shutting the door. The way that I currently have my greenhouse built, it's actually missing 2 of the bars that are supposed to keep it stabilized. Those bars are actually supposed to be the braces here on the front and back, but I took them off so I could give myself more room to play with, because this won't pull together. So securing this is actually almost impossible. I'm going to have to rely on my ties. I had actually had the greenhouse for several months before I put it up, and then realized what the problem with the greenhouse was. Everything went together fine as far as the frame went, but the plastic itself was lopsided and it wouldn't go on. And once I figured it out, it was probably 3 months into owning the greenhouse. So I never bothered to contact the company. I fixed the problem and I made do. One thing that I forgot to mention is the plastic itself. Even though it was sewn on sideways and incorrectly, the stitching themselves are actually really good. I have not had any separation, no rips, no nothing. If the plastic did tear, but that was from me using the tent stakes and pulling them in and out. The zipper worked really well up until the other day when it came apart on me and broke. I also had a problem with the nuts and bolts that came with the set. Most of them worked, but a few did not, and they did not give me any extra. So if you were to get this and found that you were having a problem with the nuts and bolts, you might want to go get replacements that work better, because they were pretty bad. So those are just a few things that I had to contend with on this greenhouse. I mean, if you buy cheap, you're probably going to get cheap. But if you're lucky enough and you get one of these greenhouses that is built properly and comes with all the pieces and works the way it's supposed to, you're going to get a great little greenhouse. It is also important that you understand that this is not a permanent structure. This plastic netting or this plastic cover is going to break down. It's going to rot, and if you get 2 years out of it, I think you're doing really well. While I was doing my research, I also came upon this little greenhouse. This also might be a reasonable option for owning one. I hope this video answers any questions that you may have about the best choice walk-in greenhouse 15 by 7 by 7. As I said, for the price, it's really a good deal. You just may have to contend with some issues as you put it up. And you definitely need to make sure that you have it tied down tightly, or it will blow away. If you have any other questions that I may have left out, please leave them in the comments and I'll answer them as best that I can. You guys, I want to appreciate you guys coming back here and watching this 1-year review of my greenhouse. I appreciate everyone's support. You guys have an awesome day.